Hey guys. Hey guys. Welcome to Restore Belief with Nikki. It's been a very busy day. It's late. Sorry for the wobble. Let's see if I can get rid of this light. Hang on a second. One moment. We have a bit of an issue. There we go. Aha. All right. Okay. Tailbone. Business. Okay. There we go. Things are changing on the walls. So, just an FYI. Okay. Today we are talking about Mobius and about, well, that's not going to work. ET hybrids and where they grow up. So there we go. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. And look up. Here we go. And that. Okay. And we get rid of this. Go here. Sorry, guys. Bit of business. Completely, it's been an extremely busy day. To say the very least. Okay. All right. So I came from I'm trying to remember the name of her item, the name of her YouTube channel. I was just with Harmony Fronter House, and we were recording information here. Ugh. Anyway, we were recording for next week, so we had a very good conversation about frequency and energy and things of that nature. Okay, I'm gonna have to put my glasses on. Greetings, Amy. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate that immensely. Okay, glasses. Wow. Okay. Oh, there we go. Hey, she can see. What do you know? Okay. I'm just there's, like I said, a lot has been going on today. Okay, so trying to get all this taken care of. I was tried to do it before, and apparently that's just not possible. So Mobius. Mobius is a planet that I know is a real planet. If people tell you that it is not, they're full of course, they could say that about me as well. Okay, this is just. There we go. Okay, that's much better. You see my mug, one of the mugs down there. No, a mug. There is one mug. Keep your eyes to the skies. That's actually one of the mugs from S4 Bunker. Forest Moon Paranormal at the time. Anyway, Mobius is a planet that is in existence. I always seem to get it confused as to where it's located, which is just beyond frustrating to me. And gosh, I didn't know she was on today. I just got a notification for somebody else being on. Anyway, I remember it as being on the other side of the moon. When I have talked to somebody else who definitely knows Mobius, for good reason. A lot of us ET abductees were taken to Mobius. Anyway, it's a planet on the other side of the sun. So there's that. But it's a planet that I remember as abductees are taken there to learn different pieces of information. Trying to remember everything else, and I think I caught everybody. Anyway, so you're taken there, and you are taught from childhood. Oh, thank you, Harmony. What is YouTube doing that? I don't understand that. Anyway, so it's a location. Okay, so finally I got everything taken care of. I gotta keep my phone plugged in and charged because as soon as this is over with, I gotta be out of here. Okay, like I said, busy day. Hey, Harmony. Okay, Mobius. What has been told to me, like I said, I remember it somewhere else, but it's because it's a minor vague recollection. Mobius, according to other people that I know, is actually on the other side of the sun. They remember it more than I do. What I remember of Mobius is as an abductee, you are taken to that planet and taught numerous different things. On that regard, those things can be anywhere from ET teachings to, well, it's always going to be ET teachings, but it's along the lines of you're not just taken, for example, there are many people. Okay, hang on. I'll get to that question in a minute, Amy, or answer to that question. Hang on. It's okay. Today I don't care. I just don't. But thank you. I appreciate it. So, for example, many ETs talk about, and there's actually really rather famous ETs talk about, ET abductees talk about. There's really a rather famous ET abductee that lives in another country, a female who has gone cross countries to talk about her abductions. And basically, she talks about being on craft and being taught as a child. Yes, that is exactly along the same lines. It's driving me nuts. There we go. It's along the same lines. Oh, my cane's in there. Oh well. It's along the same lines as a lot of ET abductees talk about, where they are taught while they are on board a ET ship, ET craft. That can very easily be done to teach the human children. whether to fly an ET craft, small or ET craft, or they can be taken across the galaxy. Oh my God, I just had a realization. Oh, I'm not ready to go into that one yet. Anyway, oh, the hell of a realization. Anyway, ET related, yes. Cross the galaxy, and they usually go to Mobius. I remember parts of Mobius as a I was going to say multi-dimensional. That's not what I mean. A location site for numerous different races of ETs. Children are, hey, Christopher, welcome. Numerous children are I want to say sequestered. That's not, it's sort of correct, but it's not at the same time. You're basically taken across the galaxy, brought to Mobius, taught different things, watched by the ETs, then taken home. And they do this periodically with a specific group of children. Why? Don't ask me why. I do not know why. I just know that it's done. And it's for specific teaching purposes. I know it has, okay, I can't say I don't know 100%. I know it has to do with the soul. It's a specific reason of that specific soul. And it's been going on, I want to say at least 1,000 years. Not all of the human children are going to be allowed to remember, but some do. I have a number of memories throughout my lifetime of Mobius. I don't quite understand why that is. I have a memory of, I was in my 30s or 40s, late 30s, somewhere 40s, where I was taken and it goes into the same, I want to say, general synopsis of what I've described in the past on here regarding when they put me into a clone body, and then my higher consciousness is put in, a form of my higher consciousness is put into a clone body, and that has to do with like sanitation, bugs and things like that for the human body, being on Earth, and blah blah blah. So anyway, so it has to do with medical issues. So, and I don't quite, I mean, I get it, but yet I don't. I do remember this one time where I wasn't in my clone body. I remember being in my late 30s, somewhere mid 40s, and having conversation with different beings, again in the what I call the white room, with numerous races of ETs and other humans, just like me, being classified as ambassadors and being taught once again not to have any thought, because ETs, most ETs, can be, not all, but I used to believe all, but I have since been taught otherwise. Most ETs can use almost like a hive mentality. Hive mentality is not the right way to say it, but I don't know any other way that gets it across that people comprehend it. So I just remember being taught don't think. Don't think. Keep my thoughts to myself. Well, that's not going to happen. And so basically, it's don't think. Um, it's a big deal. Collective mentality, yes, Amy. And it goes kind of onto some of the things that Harmony and I talked about earlier today. That's going to be uploaded and broadcast next week. Um, so this kind of goes along with some of what we were talking about that will be put up eventually. Okay, Amy, I don't want to forget your question. My big question. Okay, here, hang on a minute. My big question on Mobius is how would it be hidden from multiple space probes of multiple nations? It would imply the conspiracy to hide. Oh, excuse me. Is international. Pardon me. It would imply the conspiracy to hide it is international. If it were on the other side of the moon, yes. If it were on the other side of the sun, not so sure about that. So I do know that it's a real planet. I do know that it's where a lot of races of ET go. I don't want to call it like a way station. I don't want to call it a station at all, but that's what it reminds me of. About threw a hissy fit when I saw it for the first time. What to me is a new movie. It came out a number of years ago, dealing with one of the new Star Trek movies, and I about lost my head over that when I saw it because I was like, "Whoa, this reminds me of Mobius," but it wasn't like an energy barrier as the planet. Anyway, okay, let's see. That is what I am saying. Many probes have been in solar orbit or been. Okay, I can't do this. There we go. Or been on the other side of the solar system over a dozen. I don't know how it's done, Amy. That's not my forte. I don't have a clue. I just know that it's a real planet. It's there. I used to always say that it was on the other side of the moon. And I do remember it feeling when you're on an ET ship. Here's the thing about them. One of the things that I described earlier today was that it's like they have their own sense of time, their own frequency, their own energy. Energy barriers. They very much have their own energy barriers. And I know that, wow, okay. I know, how do I explain this? How do I express this? I know that multiple races go there. The walls in the halls are not white. I remember that. It's a very unusual color. I don't even know how to describe the color. It's very possible that because of all the kinds of tech that are on Mobius, because there are really a lot of kinds of different tech that I can't even begin to comprehend, let alone describe. I do know that it does have, they do use a form of energy, really super high energy. It's very possible that that energy creates a barrier, like the barrier that created like this painting and this painting back here, um, where the I put my hand on the window, what I thought was a window, and I get told by one of the races of ET, or one of the ETs that was there at the time, don't put your hand on, basically don't put your hand on the window. We call it, it's a form of an energy barrier. It's like your window, but um, it's don't put your hand on the window. And it's very possible that the planet is protected that way. I don't honestly know, but it would be a logical guess, um, that that is what is done. Um, so, and I'm very science oriented. So I still have a hard time with, and yet I'm very energy based, and yet frequency based, and yet I have a hard time with this, just like any normal person would. Um, I get that it how does this work? I'm not the person to ask on something like that. I know what I know, and that's what I know. And if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. And on this, I don't know, but I can make a guess simply based on remembering that window. It's very possible that there's some kind of barrier on it, on the planet, surrounding the planet. There's barriers inside that planet, or in the halls, in rooms, at doorways. Um, it's very possible that they've got it protected, and it would make sense that they do. Um, but I honestly, I don't know how they scientifically do that. It would make more sense to me that it would be hidden or cloaked, from our technology, not so much from other races of other races other races of ET is what I was gonna say, but from not okay. It would make sense to me that because of our minuscule technology that we have now, in comparison to the different races of ETs, scientifically, it would make sense to me that we would not pick up the technology or the cloaking, or because believe me, I've seen an ET ship cloak. Wasn't happy about it. Um, wasn't happy about it because I'm standing not many feet from other people going, that's a ship. And they're like, there's stars, Nikki, there's, and I'm like, no, well, they just cloaked. Never mind. I mean, what's the point if people don't believe? I mean, or don't even see what you're seeing? Um, so I just scientifically, it would make perfect sense to me that we don't have the capabilities, science wise, to be able to detect it or be able to um, see it the way ETs see it, if that makes sense. Um, but like I said, that's only my guess. And I can't even say it's a very good guess, but it's only based on that experience as, 4-year-old. Um, I say 4-year-old, but I've recently had mind-bending, realizations about ETs and how long they've actually been taking me. Had memories all the way back to when I was 2. Boy, let me tell you, that freaked me out. Um, so, I mean, um, I don't know. I assume it's possible if they're able to cloak these gigantic ships, because the ship that I saw was a mothership. If they're capable of cloaking that size of a ship, what's to say they aren't capable of cloaking a planet? I mean, yeah, if they're using that kind of energy, um, to me, that would mean that they'd have to have, I can only guesstimate, um, that there's got to be something all over the planet to be able to kind of like how SpaceLink is doing the satellite thing now, where they're creating this, um, uh, not a wave, a grid over Earth with satellites. I mean, it's very conceivable to me that that is doable on the planet level. Um, I honestly don't remember anything right now of the outer section of the planet. I remember being in buildings, is what I remember, and smooth walls, very smooth, and they shift and they change just like an ET ship that changes. Um, Metamaterial, we call metamaterial things. This is morphine, living metal that morphs. I've seen that. Um, I have memories of that this experience with the. I've never described this before until today, until I was talking with Harmony on her show. That I've never described it until today publicly. Uh, that there was a rail, part of a rail, on either side of this like platform that I walked up 4 steps up, and I remember looking over there at one point before I had walked up. There were no railings, none. Yet when I was up there, I have a distinct memory of there being a railing, um, behind me. And then as the adult is coming up the stairs, grabbing me on my left shoulder and turning me around, there's no more railing. Um, and yet, when I'm in my 20s and 30s, I'm walking down. I have distinct memories of walking. Sorry, smell. Walking down different corridors, hearing what I can only classify as gelatinous material, being accessed. Walking by other rooms, and the smell from these rooms, I can't. It's indescribable. It's it makes my stomach turn. When I really start to think about it, it makes my stomach turn. Um, and part of the walls morph. Um, Doors that slide into walls, but there's no seam on the wall where, I mean, no seam. Um, Doors that don't go up, but they slide left and right. Um, but there's no seam. I mean, I've seen doors do other things that I've never described to anybody, and I probably never will. Um, I've seen walls on those ships anticipate an ET baby. I don't even know how to begin to describe that one. So it's totally conceivable to me, based on just that knowledge alone, that they have science ability to do that kind of thing, to possibly, highly possibly, cloak an entire planet. I mean, it's just mind boggling. That alone is just mind boggling to me. Um, that's what they would need to visually cloak the entire. Yes, perhaps Mobius is a planet sized and shaped ship. Basically, the Death Star of Star Wars minus Darth Vader. To me, what you just described is the moon. Um, and what would be the logical places to place it in a parking orbit? Um, to me, what you are describing, Amy, is the moon and not Mobius. Um, Somehow I know that Mobius is a living planet, like Earth is a living planet. Um, the moon to me is like a dead planet. Um, I know that it's got tubes in it and like corridors and things like that, um, in it. But Mobius, the planet Mobius, is very much alive. Okay, so I don't have very much time left, and because I need to keep this at an hour, I've got a kind of a situation that I've got to deal with tonight, and then I will be on. When I return, I will be having dinner and then going on a show tonight. It was going to be canceled, um, but it's been, excuse me, every time I drink that, it's got seltzer in it. Um, so, of course, I'm going to burp. Um, so, when I get home and after I eat, we're going to be doing the S4 bunker. Um, so, that's at 10 p.m. to midnight tonight, Pacific time. The topic for, ouch, the S4 bunker tonight. Hang on one second. Where, pray tell, are you? Round table. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Where in the world? Hang on. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to find the topic. Uh, Natural disasters, connecting to the paranormal. Speaking of which, I need to put that in my phone because otherwise I'm going to forget that. Okay, S4. Sorry, a bit of business, but I was done. So that's what be the logical place to place it in a parking orbit. Yes. So that's what we're going to be talking about on S4 tonight. So that'll be an interesting, and we're going to have a couple of guests. So that'll be cool. Definitely an interesting topic of conversation. Anyway, all right. So the other subject that I wanted to talk about was hybrid children. Many hybrid children from at least 2 different races that I am aware of do this. So the babies are born on ET ship, and once they are full grown adult size, which mine, that takes 30 days, which is that's a whole nother mind-boggling subject. So look like I've got a bruise. I do not have a bruise. I'm just overheated. Sorry. So they're born on ET ship. They then go through their own, of course, during that 30 days, they are taught, they are telepathically worked with, they are trained. Then they go immediately, I believe it's Mars first, or is it? It's either Mars first and then Venus, or Venus then Mars. Anyway, they're underground, and they are taken to one of those 2 planets first. They are you're welcome, Harmony. I'm glad you were able to come. Come back anytime. So they're taken to one of the planets first, then, and that's a training ground. And wow, one of my hybrid sons was very telepathic with me, and I have talked about this before. The ETs allowed him connection to me because he was having extreme difficulties, shall we say, and that's putting it mildly and nicely. Extreme difficulties, and they were having a hard time basically controlling his emotions, getting him to control his emotions. And they, a psychic friend of mine said, had a very public message for me. She was doing readings, and she had an ET standing before her, giving her information to tell me. And I was in the chat at the time. I was like, oh. And she was like, that's why they're allowing contact between you and your son. And this is all very public. I mean, hello, it was a live broadcast. And I just happened to be in chat that day and asked a question, and she answered the question and then some. And so it was quite the eye opener, because I couldn't understand why I could connect to him and the daughter that I had before him, but not the daughter I had after him. And so, I mean, I could connect, but not like I could connect to him. And basically, I got informed that he was having major difficulties because they're basically breeding back in. Breeding is not the right word, but it's my word right now because it's what I can. That's how I think of it. Anyway, they're putting back into the gene sequence the human emotion chip, so to speak. It's not a chip, but it's the human emotion factor. And so they are um see, like my 40-year-old 41-year-old hybrid daughter not got the human emotions. I found that out the hard way. Doesn't have the human emotions at all. Um, and so, and here, what, 38 years later, I mean, she's 41 now, but 38 years later, um, I'm still having, no, got something on my cheek, sorry. I'm still having hybrids. Yeah, they're still wanting me to have hybrids. And I'm like, okay. And this is what I've been informed of. And uh, my son, he was very communicative with me about his feelings and how angry and upset he was at them. And then it was because he was being taught and he didn't understand, and some of the things. And I'm like, well, sweetheart, there are certain, so I'm not going to get into my private conversation with him, um but there were certain things that he needed to learn. And he and I mean, we had a link. We had a link from one of the far, I think Venus is the farthest beyond Mars, I think. I can't remember at this second. Amy, if you're still watching, let me know because I can't remember that at this second. It's driving me nuts. I remember the solar system. I remember the planets. We all remember, well, back then it was our 5th grade, but I mean, they're doing it earlier than that now. Anyway, so um, he was on the farthest planet out, and he was just, and I don't mean the farthest planet out, but the farthest of one of those two planets out. And he was just really struggling. And so here, my psychic friend, mediumship friend, is giving me this information from an ET that is standing. Well, he was standing behind her, and then he started standing in front of her. And it was weird because I saw the energy shift around her. I remember watching this going, yeah, what the hell is with the energy shift? What I didn't recognize was that it was ET. Um, I'm so used to her having spirits around her and stuff like this. I didn't even register. And I can't call it a shimmer, but there was something about, and I got to get my tea. Here's my tea. Um, there was something about the image that I still look at that and go, okay. I had somebody else look at it, and no, there's nothing there. Well, I saw it. And she's replayed it, I know. Only that spot, and it's like, yeah. Anyway, so he was communicating with me long distances, and the sound quality is very different. He was trying to remember when he was taken from me and birthed. So he would have been our Earth term. He would have been a year old. And no, it still here. Okay, Pluto. No, I don't mean the last one on the end. I mean between Mars and Venus. I don't remember if it's Mars that's the last one of those two or if it's Venus. I think it's Venus, but I don't remember. But thank you. You got the idea. Anyway, so when he was on board the ship and they that was a weekend where I was taken and I found myself in a forest in this body and I was having problems walking. And I remember having an ET help me walk because, hello, I'm in this massively morbidly obese body and with a back injury and having serious issues being in a forest. And there were other adult abductees. Ouch, ouch, ouch. There were other abductees, adult abductees there. And yeah, that was a real trippy experience for me. And he stayed connected with me, to me, off and on. Um, I can't say throughout that weekend, but during parts of that weekend. And he was on board the ship. And the interesting thing is I do not remember being on board the ship. I remember the ship being above me. I remember these people standing around with me. I remember being telepathic. And I remember I didn't want to go that time. And I was upset that I was going that time. And we're standing there. There's people. I mean, it's like they were in a trance. I don't know how else to describe it. It was just like zombie walking. I don't know how. I literally do not know how else to do. And it was cold. It was the middle of the night, and it was. I mean, it was. This was January, 2021. It was, or 2022. Excuse me. It was really cold that night outside. I didn't have a coat. I was cold. I was shivering. And I think that that's what brought me out of the, because my teeth started to chatter. Because when I get that cold, my teeth literally start to chatter. It is an sorry, I got my foot up against this. It's an uncontrollable body thing. And when that happens, I mean, that's a surefire way to wake you up real damn fast. And basically, it just it was a major ordeal. But my son, my hybrid son, I mean, he was on board that ship, and at one point during that weekend, tummy. At one point during that weekend trip, I was in the car, and my human biological son, well, they're both biological, but anyway, one's my doing, one's their doing. And the one that was in the car with me, he was in the back seat and almost sounded, my hybrid was on board the craft. And he said, he calls me something specific, and I literally thought it was my son behind me. I thought he had leaned forward and literally said something to me in my right ear. And And I turned around and I'm like, did you just say something? And he hadn't. And I realized the second I turned, he had not moved. He had not moved, not one bit. He hadn't spoken, nothing. He was looking at something on his phone. And the other person in the car looked over at him and I mean, they're looking at me, then they turn and they look at, he hasn't said anything. Excuse me. And I realized, because the sound was so loud in my ear, that it wasn't this son, it was the son that was on board the craft. And when I realized I could be telepathic, I mean, really realized, and that it was my son on board the craft, I opened up a line, and then we had a conversation. And they allowed him to come because he wanted to spend time with me. He wanted that connection. I don't know 100%, but I have a strong suspicion, based on numerous factors, that I was taken on board the craft with the other people. There were at least, well, I know there were at least 10 of us. With, I got to think about this, with at least 5 or 6 tall grays, almost tall white grays, but they were grays, and they were 7 feet tall. Those are the ones that are known as the controllers. They're damn good at what they do. Or at least that's what somebody else calls the controllers. And I've never called them, well, I don't think of them in that way, but it makes perfect sense, because they control everything. And they're usually really good at telepathy. I keep trying to say telepathic, but they're very good. Same thing. They're very good at telepathy. They are excellent at energy squelching. In other words, putting a barrier on your own frequency and energy so that you can't do anything energetically wise. Human cannot do anything energetic wise. They're excellent at manipulating the mind, and because my teeth had started to chatter, that I'm going back to the night, because my teeth had started to chatter that night, that's what woke me up and brought me out of this the other thing I remember is my shoes were not where I put them. When I was returned, my shoes were not at all where I had put them the night before I'd gotten into bed, because I was walking around that house, throughout that house, with shoes on, because it terrified me too much. The everything was wood floors, and it was slippery. And that's the last thing I needed, was to break and fall something, have something else break, have me fall, because I slipped and fell again. And it was really very, it frightened me. So I wore my shoes everywhere, because I needed to have firm footing. Although I think there were 2, maybe 3 times where I did not wear the shoes, and yeah, I was like grabbing on, if I had to go up or down those stairs, I was grabbing onto everything that I could. So my human son was in the car, going back to the following day. My human son was in the car behind me. My ET hybrid son was on craft above us and very loud in my head and explained why he was there. Um, Repeatedly told me that he loved me, um, and essentially that he thanked me as being his mom, his essentially his host. Um, it kind of reminds me of a parasite, but he's not. They're not. It's not parasitic. But our sciences would classify that as parasitic. But anyway, I'm gonna have to. I gotta cut this short. Anyway, so uh, if I'm feeling up to it, I might do. Um, Depends on how I'm feeling after I come back. I might do a 1 a.m. Pacific time. Um, I might just make it a day of it, a full day of it. But we'll see how I'm feeling because I've got another really big day tomorrow. So, but my hybrid son, I mean, we had this open line of communication, and that I it meant everything to me. Do I talk to him now? Hardly. They've got his human emotions, and I put it human emotions under control. Um, well, he's got it under control, is how I should say that. They don't have him under control because that's like thumb screws, dee, 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 dee. No, that's not like that at all with them. Um, it's all about how the hybrid can control their energy, their frequency, and when you add the human emotions back into it. Now, I don't logically remember, I do not remember when they started splicing the human emotion side back in. I know it can be done. He is living proof of it. And yet, my firstborn, who's 41, is proof of not having it. So sometime in that 40 in those years, in that time span, they started doing the human emotion. Um and it meant everything to me cuz I begged, I cried, I pleaded repeatedly with them. I had nights where I literally would cry in bed, cry myself to sleep because I wanted to see my daughter. And it was essentially like she begrudgingly did it for them. It wasn't done for me. She did it because somebody else had asked her to. And I know this. There's a number of things that I know because I picked up a lot of different things from her psychically, energetic wise, and she never spoke a word. Well, I can't say that. That's not technically true, but anyway, not about that anyway. So, um, yeah, it just it really meant a great deal. Still does. Um, it means a great deal to me that they essentially talked her into coming to see me. Um, I don't know how they did it, but I'm glad they did it because it sure as hell meant a lot to me. Um, and I know, oh God, she was gorgeous. Oh my God. Um, and I don't honestly remember. I don't think I've told anybody what she looks like facially, um, or body wise. I don't remember doing that. If I have, that's very unusual for me because that's very private to me. But I will say this, she definitely looked like a combination of human and ET. Um, and I did say today when I was with Harmony, that she had, God, some of the most gorgeous black hair I've ever seen. A lot of the ET hybrids, whether they're clones or whether they're hybrids, many of them will have like jet black hair. I know that the hybrids have, it's like their hair shaft is, well, it's not like it is. It's hollow inside. It's like, um, reflective, iridescent, tubular. Somebody just said tubular. Oh God, there's an '80s term I haven't heard in a long time, very long time. Um, but it's a rather big deal. Um, and I often wonder. I don't know this. This is my guess, estimation, summation, whatever you want to call it. Um, but I have a tendency to. Well, that was interesting. Anyway. I have a tendency to believe. Sorry, guys. Start the emotion thing. There goes the nose. I have a tendency to believe that, um, the hollowness of the hair shaft, um, is somehow so that they can. It's like a form of how do I explain what I think it is? I don't know. I don't know if this is going to do it justice, but it it's like part of their own personal cloaking. Um, physical form of cloaking. I don't know how else to explain it. I know that the hair somehow has energy. Um, I don't know how I know that. I just know I do. Um, but it's fascinating to me, the different ETs that I've met, that I've verbally talked with and have telepathically talked with. Um, why does that ET's gun keep coming up? Energy gun keep popping in my head. I don't know. That's maybe for next week. To talk about next week or later tonight. I don't know. I haven't figured it out. I'll make note of it. Speaking of which, ouch. Um, all right, hierarchies. Enough with the ear. That's about to drive me nuts. Um, next week. Uh, anyway, on that note, I'm gonna have to go. Unfortunately, uh, I hope you have enjoyed this. Have learned something new. Please take very good care of yourself. And um, work on changing negatives to positives, creating better energy environment, working on numerous different things in your life. So, take good care of yourself and continue, as always, to forever learn new things, learn positive things, constructive, and be kind to yourself. Sometimes that's a hard thing to do for folks, but be kind to yourself. Do some good self-care routines, or start some new self-care routines. Take good care. And I will talk to you next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Bye, guys. Oh, if you like, please hit the like button. Share it out if you'd like. And to help the algorithms, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe if you are so inclined. And to help the algorithms, please leave me a note in the comment section. Take care, everybody. Bye.